Why did I think that was a good idea? I have no clue. How about we start with something familiar? Oh yeah, Scooby-Doo. That familiar talking canine with his friends, the meddling kids, their hippie van solving mysteries with guys and... Damn, stuff gets serious in this movie. Now I'm going to try and keep this review as less biased as I can, because growing up I found this movie to be incredibly awesome. It was the first time where I felt like the Mystery Gang were caught up in a situation where the stakes were high. It also helps that the animation was an incredible improvement and that the tagline was, "This time, the monsters are real." Archetypes are broken and we're given a dark mystery that the gang has to uncover. But going back, it's time to see if this movie still holds up, or if my nostalgia keeps me from accepting the flaws this movie might have. So let's sit down and watch Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Our movie begins with a typical Scooby-Doo caper. Or ends with a typical Scooby-Doo caper. Right off the bat, the animation in this movie will make the original animators from the show envious. Is it incredible to look at? Of course. It's a nice departure and we'll see later lends to some nice set pieces. Anyways, the gang splits up and... Wait, what? The Mystery Gang has gone their separate ways? Why?
You know, the real reason I changed jobs was because the monsters and ghosts always turned out to be bad guys in a mask.
Got a little boring, eh?
No kidding.
You heard that, folks. The Mystery Gang stopped solving mysteries because they got bored. No better way to put it other than that. Could have been because they wanted to move on with their lives? Maybe, but what it all boils down to them was saying, man, this stuff's getting boring. Like Shaggy's overused runting loop. So as we see, the gang each takes different jobs. Fred and Daphne have their own paranormal activity show, Velma works at a mystery bookstore, and both Scooby and Shaggy are airport security. Yeah, I am not making that up, and if you can hear that right, the jokes are writing themselves. But suddenly, as the movie starts, the gang misses each other and decide to surprise Daphne on her birthday and bring the gang back together. These kids need to set their priorities straight. One minute, they're bored doing the same thing. The next, it's back to Scooby snacks and pulling off masks. Her cameraman's Fred, and yeah, they pretty much set the record straight that they're dating. Put down your keyboards, fanfic writers, because these two are in for each other. After finding more men in costumes with too much time in their hands, they catch up with a Southern belle who claims to have a haunted house. So the gang meets up with ferryman Jim Cummings. Yeah, listen for yourself, it's Jim Cummings.
Cool, yeah, sure. He was the most famous one, him.
See? Who will take them down to a haunted house right off a bayou. So Jim Cummings is playing occasion, taking the Mystery Gang to a bayou. Somewhere there's a really good Princess and the Frog joke. How about this?
Going down the bayou, going down the bayou, going down the bayou, taking you all the way.
So the gang makes it to the bayou where they meet up with the owners who have a serious cat fetish. Remember this. The kids discover that it used to be a plantation where pirates hid their loot and disturbed the natives. The natives curse the pirates, and anybody who comes to the bayou will walk among the living dead as zombies.
Don't say that. What? That? The Z word. Don't say it.
Whoa. Sorry about that. But yeah, Scooby and the kids are now knee-deep among real zombies, an evil fisherman, voodoo mysticism, and get this, evil cat people. And that pretty much sums up Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, minus the spoilers. Or did I reveal any spoilers? Did I mention the cat people may have been the plantation owners already? I did? Oh, well, that was part of the mystery, I guess, so that's a review of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island? Well, to be fair, Scooby-Doo is one of those shows which we watch as kids to help us deduce and figure out who the masked villain is by the end of the show. It pretty much set me up for how I watch any show, like the smorgasbords of CSIs and NCISs that pop up on television here and there. As for the movie, I found myself pretty invested to see where the kids would go, even if it's pretty predictable. I'll even argue that the characters here actually have more character. Like, Fred in the original show was the worst. Like, you knew all the lines he would say and what he would do. He didn't really have any defining character traits other than what he wore or what his color hair was. You could pretty much describe any of the cast members other than Fred. Like, you can tell that Daphne was the prissy one, that Shaggy was the stoner, that Velma was the bookworm, and Scooby-Doo was always hungry. What about Fred? Nothing really. Fred in this film actually has a quirk. We discover that he's a bit of a slob who also seems to have a thing for food. It isn't like Shaggy or Scooby, but it's pretty noticeable. We also learned that he's rather rational when solving a case, and at other times he could be a womanizer. Kinda makes sense why they would have Freddie Prinze Jr. play him in the live-action movie. Speaking of which, I've noticed that the live-action movie would pick up a lot of things from this movie, like the bayou that happens to be a pepper plantation, and both Shaggy and Scooby having a craving for suffering while eating these peppers. Like in the live-action film, the gang splits up and go their separate ways only to discover that they need each other, just like in the live-action film. Scooby has an insane cat problem which barely shows up in the original show, just like in the live-action movie. Finally, it's the fact that they're fighting paranormal forces and dealing with voodoo mysticism, all things that show up in the later movie. Like, Mr. Bean may have called his theme park Zombie Island, and nobody would know the difference. I prefer the animated movie over the live-action one. Though the live-action film is a guilty pleasure for me, I can safely tell you at least Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island knows when it's entertaining. My biggest problem with the live-action film was that it makes jokes a little too subversive and lowbrow, that it alienates the guys who like the show from those who like toilet jokes. It isn't as bad as, say, this movie, but it still remains a film that doesn't strike a good balance between family-friendly and family-creeper. Which is to say Zombie Island could slip in a good one for the adults while watching.
This just gets better and better. Maybe from where you're standing.
So my final consensus for this animated film would have to be a well-endowed worth it. And I recommend it for the family or any Scooby-Doo fan. And as contrived as this sounds, it's a Scooby snack in my book.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Well, I'm Joey Tedesco, and thanks for watching this Halloween episode of the Cartoon Palooza, and stick around because we got 2 more coming your ways over the next weeks.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are